I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
We are back officially. Season 5 is kicking off tonight. Before I forget, because when we did the interview, Marty pointed out that I forgot to make mention of the fact that one of our guests tonight is another in a long series of former Zane Trace soccer players.
That's right. Pioneers represent.
Bart Herrnstein, Dan Oney, Jeremiah Johnson. I'm trying to think of the others. Jonathan Davis and Brad Weaver now. Brad and Adam Esham are two of the, I guess, organizers and coaches of the Ross County Mountain Lions, which is a youth mountain bike team here that is across school district lines. It's a great, inclusive organization that is doing some really cool things, helping to get kids outside, helping them to get into the, into the trails and teaching them a lot more, which we're going to touch on tonight. Thanks to some great sponsors out there who have done some great work to help this team, because mountain biking is not particularly a cheap sport to be in. So we're excited to have both Brad and Adam on tonight to talk about the Ross County Mountain Lions. Is it appropriate to say we have a couple of mountain lions? I guess they're not. The mountain lions aren't actually here. The coaches, I guess, are here, right? Brad, are you a coach?
Yeah, so I'm a team director.
Team director.
And Adam
okay.
is our head coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Adam Esham, Dr. Adam Esham. Do you call yourself doctor while you're doing this? You're just Adam, right?
Not. Coach Adam.
Coach Adam.
Okay, yeah.
Brad Weaver from the Ross County Mountain Lions here. Some of you may not be familiar with Ross County's youth mountain biking team, the Ross County Mountain Lions. So that's why they're here.
Yeah.
But rather than me try to explain what it is, I'm going to have you guys say what it actually is, because I didn't even look up what NICA means. So
Sure. I'll just start from the beginning.
Sure.
So NICA, it's NICA, stands for National Interscholastic Cycling Association. So that was started in 2009 out in California. There are 31 states participating in it right now. 30 states, 31 leagues. Here in Ohio, we just wrapped up our third season. So basically it's cross-country mountain bike racing for grades 6 through 12.
And so is this outside of school? It's like a club sport?
Right, yeah. So the ultimate goal, I believe, is to have clubs teams at schools.
Okay.
But right now, it's outside of school affiliation. We do have technically two teams. We have what's called a composite team, and then we have our UNIOTA team.
Oh, okay.
And what that is basically, as you start a new team, you always start as a composite for the most part. That allows you to bring kids from multiple schools in. Once you get 5 or more kids from one school, they like you to split into a school-based team, and all that is just for scoring.
Okay.
So like I said, we are a composite team with one Huntington rider, one city schools. Is it called CHS?
Yeah.
Or city schools now, since they combine everything. So one city schools rider, one Huntington, and then one rider from Peebles, Ohio, actually.
Wow, makes the drive up.
Yeah.
And then we have 12 riders from UNIOTA. So as far as our scoring is concerned, we're 2 teams, but outside of that, we are just one big.
Yeah, you just operate as one.
Yeah.
So this isn't like an SVC or a FAL. This is a league that is statewide.
Right. Yeah. So we participate in the OMBL. It's the Ohio Mountain Biking League, which is Ohio's division of NICA.
Okay.
And how do you get riders, participants? Regular sports, they say, hey, anybody want to go out for bowling? And people show up and they bowl, right? This is a little different because multiple schools, first of all, and then it's also not something that you can observe real readily, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to. You're not going to see it out in the public. We're not riding through the streets or anything like that. Things like this podcast, the Great Seal, Living magazine, any type of publicity we can get like that, I try and put our information into. We have a Facebook page, RC Mountain Lions, website, rcmountainlions.com. Word of mouth is really the biggest one, though.
Yeah.
So as you can see, like our Unioda team is so big.
Yeah.
Once you start, then word of mouth spreads proportionally. So.
We also try to be visible in the community. We did the Halloween parade last year, I believe. And so those kind of things. I mean, it's trying getting used to the mic here.
That's right.
The just wearing the uniforms, people being interested, having the kids wear them to school.
Yeah. So, Adam, my question for you is, how do you coach mountain biking?
It's difficult, and it's different mainly because you have kids of all different levels and ages. And so you have to tailor each practice trying to improve on each person's skills. And so you may have a varsity rider who's been riding since they were 6 years old, showing up to the same practice where you have a sixth grader who's only been riding for 6 months.
Yeah.
And so you have to really look at and tailor each practice to that specific rider, but also trying to keep them as a group because we are a team, and that's an important part of it.
And so when you go to competitions, like I saw, you just finished this last weekend, right? Was your last event? I forget where that was, but
So we were up at Camp Tuscazor up in Tuscaroras County,
Okay.
around Dover, Ohio. That was our last event for the season.
how many different schools or different organizations will show up to something like that?
So in NICA or in OMBL this season, we had on average 160 student athletes show up to each race. And that was split up, I believe, 13 teams all around Ohio. Some of those are kind of like we are two of those teams. There's one team, Lost in the Woods. They have, I believe, 3 separate teams, but it's the same kind of thing. It's one team, but 3 individual scored teams.
Yeah.
Wow, that's actually great numbers.
Yeah, it's grown pretty fast. And just like I said, we've only been around for 3 years, so it's very impressive.
And you definitely see it in the numbers of riders from the high school all the way down to the middle school, where a high school race may only have 15 or 20 total riders per grade, where the middle school has 40 or 60 sometimes.
Yeah, our middle school B. So it used to be 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders. Now it's middle school A, middle school B, middle school C, because they realized the skill levels overlapped. So our middle school B this year, we actually had 2 starting waves because they were, I think, 52 kids in that group.
Wow.
So they have 25 and 26 starting at once because these are mass start races. You have everyone in heat, shoulder to shoulder, and they say go, and they take off, and it's exciting.
It probably feels like chaos at the beginning, right?
Yeah, like excitement.
Yeah, that's probably a better term. You're right. But you got to be encouraged about the idea that there's a lot more junior high and maybe that middle school range coming up, because obviously if you had you're real heavy on the other side, the senior high ranks, the varsity ranks, you'd be like, geez, how are we going to keep this sustained? Right. So
it's promising to a lot of the parents who reach out, a lot of new interests we have. It's good and bad. One, the bad side is they're usually elementary kids.
Yeah.
And you have to be in 6th grade to race NICA. So, but on the good side is we have a lot of young interest. So we had that pipeline, I guess, to speak, coming up. And that's also, I guess, kind of jumping this a little bit. One of our big plans for next spring is to open that up to the younger kids. Right now we're limited to 6th grade through 12th grade because we are covered by NICA's national insurance. So to do anything outside of that, we have to have our own.
Sure.
But we are a nonprofit, a local nonprofit, and we are moving towards for next year to be able to have our own insurance so we can practice longer and offer these programs to younger kids.
I imagine as director of the team, your job is to obtain sponsors.
Yeah, that's one of the things to do. Sponsors, make sure everything's lined up, jerseys, things like that. Then also I help coach as well. I like to ride mountain bikes just as much as the kids do too. So to get to go out 3 times a week and ride bikes with them. But yeah, sponsors is such a huge deal of it. Mountain biking, it's just expensive. It is.
Mm-hmm.
You can try and say it's not, but mountain bike is an expensive sport, especially if you want a bike that's going to hold up and through an entire season. But we've had some great sponsors over the years. Chillicothe Trails, McDonald's, a private donation in the name of Annie Rooney, a local mountain biking legend. Hills Before the Hustle, AP Prep, Joel Real Estate, Southern Ohio Equipment Company, G&J Paving, Roast Coffee, Rutherford Law Office, DEH Customs, another private anonymous donor. Just, it's really been inspiring to have seen the community come out and just support this. It's something completely new for the kids, and our community seems to be completely on board with it.
So are the sponsors the way that you can get, let's say you've got a kid and he's interested, but there's no way that financially he can put a bike together and get the gear and everything else. Is that the sponsors are what helps you achieve that for a kid, or?
So that's our goal. Last year we had a couple of loaner bikes. We've had kids use loaner bikes. This year we didn't have anyone who needed one, but that's for next season. We definitely want to get a couple of bikes on the team for kids to at least come try out.
Sure.
Get a feel for it, and if they need to, use them. This year, what our sponsors really allowed us to do was offer a very heavily discounted season for all of our kids. By the time you have league fees, racing kit, which is your jersey, shorts, all that, and then each individual race fee, that adds up pretty quick. And our sponsors allowed us to, I think maybe a fifth of those overall costs is what our kids actually paid.
Yeah.
So
that's a pretty heavy subsidy to really help kids out.
Yeah, that's you've got great support then.
Yeah, we had these kids fully outfitted and fully set up for the league for less than what you'd probably outfit your kid to play soccer with.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I think we hear, that part of the reason why soccer is growing is generally you need a ball and maybe some cleats. You can pretty much find a place to play, especially in our town. Everywhere there seems to be soccer fields. It's a little harder to have a bat and a glove and other things like that for baseball or football, things like that. But it's good that there's sponsors that can really help you out and make it so you can get from place to place as well. Because I imagine toting those bikes to Tuscarawas County is not an easy task either. So,
So one of our big acquisitions, I guess, this year was we had a team trailer. So a nice enclosed 6x12 team trailer. So we've got, we go to a race for a week, and that's a Saturday and a Sunday, all day long for both days. So we've got a nice branded tent. You have 20 or 15 kids. That's 15 bikes laying around. So we've got bike racks, so the kids can keep pit organized. You've got water coolers. You got to feed and water the kids during races. Yeah. It's just, there's a lot that goes into it. So that team trailer, that was a huge win for us this season. Actually, we got a grant from the David Mead Massey Trust this past year, and that helped a lot with that. So another local
fantastic
support.
So how does, I guess, a competition go? I think of it like I ran cross country. We would often bus to a place there. If you go to a big meet where there's 50 teams or so, you're there for the whole day. And there's usually divisions and things like that. Is that kind of how this thing flows in a day?
So I think you have to kind of back up to the whole weekend thing. So
Sure.
The Saturday, typically, we do have great volunteers. I don't want to discount any of the volunteers helping set up some of those tents and things like that. So that kind of starts the weekend by setting up our area in the pit zone. The kids usually arrive in the afternoon for what we kind of call pre-ride. So that pre-ride will essentially tour the course or the race course for the next day. So we're basically trying to learn the course, any major kind of hazards or difficult areas. We may do it 2, 3, 4 times so that a kid becomes comfortable with it. So then on Sunday, that's when the race begins. In the last couple years, they do the start around 9:00 in the morning with every, 3 or 4 minutes, I think, a heat basically going out, starting out with the middle school A, then moving to the B to the C riders. They will finish those riders off of the course, different varying lengths for different riders. Then they will clear the course for that. Then they usually go with the girl riders and finishing all of the girl riders from middle school all the way through high school. Then we'll move to the high schools as well, starting out typically with the high schoolers and then finishing that total thing. And then once that race is complete, all of the scores and finishes are tallied, and then you have an award ceremony at the end to go over that aspect.
And then for you guys, you got to pack up and go home.
True. And it's, and we do our best. Again, we have a lot of parent volunteers who will help start to break down things. The race course itself has to be broken down. There are volunteers that sign up to do that, but also parents just help. All the barriers and things like that have to be broken down and packed up, because otherwise, it wouldn't happen. And so those things help move things along.
How many different, I guess, how many events did you have, what you would consider a season? So you said you just finished.
So our season consists of 5 events.
We've
got
okay.
a time trial at the beginning of the season. On that one, they send the kids off once every 30 seconds for one loop of the course, just to establish who's faster and so on. That way, your next event is your first points race, and that's where you get into your mass starts. That way, you can already position your faster kids up front, so they're not fighting through a slower crowd and causing accidents and stuff. But I wanted to touch on, or Adam mentioned, the podiums and also all the barriers and stuff. There are other options to race mountain bikes for kids in town or in Ohio. But what NICA really does is they go all out. I don't know if anyone's ever watched any of the UCI World Cup stuff on TV or on YouTube. These events are mini UCI World Cups. I mean, they go all out. You've got giant inflatable arches for the start finish. You've got the courses all taped. DJs at the starting line announcing all the kids as they come through and cheering. People on course making noise. It's just, they really go all out for these kids and make it a really amazing weekend.
Now, is this weather dependent, or are we going in all kinds of weather?
So it's weather independent.
Okay.
So this year we actually had all 5 races were pretty much perfect weather.
Yeah.
0 rain. Last year, I think it rained at just about every event.
So you were owed good weather this year.
Yeah. So, I mean,
You were too.
they won't, I assume if it had rained a bunch prior to and the day of, some of these courses may have shut down. There's a few of them that are pretty, and rightfully so, don't want their course tore up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference between mountain biking and, say, something like football or soccer is these trails. If you get 160 kids flying through there in its muddy mess, you're going to destroy trails, and that's tens and tens of hours of people, volunteer hours to rebuild.
Right.
I'll say last year we had a race at Paint Creek. That was a mud fest.
Yeah.
And it was, I believe it was probably a 4 or 5 mile loop was the course at the beginning of the weekend. And then at the end of the weekend, probably I believe like junior high to high school boys, by the time they were on course, they were doing, instead of 3 or 4 laps of that course, they were doing like 8 or 9 laps of a 1 mile loop.
Oh boy.
Because that's all the course that was left because it was such a mud fest. But if it's not lightning out, I'd say they'll maintain it, or like Adam mentioned, if the particular trail system closes it down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing, like, you think about the $150 and things like that, it goes. We learned that, I think, this year at the middle of the night when it's the first time I think they've ever had to stop it. At one point in time was right after my group, or the group that I was watching, started. And at the same time, it goes on, right? It's a race. And so it's kind of interesting to think about. Do the kids love it when it's like muddy? I would love that.
I mean, I usually, yes. Muddy is one thing, cold and muddy,
right?
They don't typically like. But even talking to some of the parents from the other teams, they loved Paint Creek from last year, just because of it was warm, it was muddy, they had a good time. They could go down into the actual lake there, and they swam in the lake to wash off.
Right.
So I think they had a good time with it. But yes, I mean, this last race that we just finished, it was, I think, 41 degrees and windy when we started.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal for some of the kids to deal with that, or anybody to deal with that, to be honest.
And you add on some of these faster kids, they're going to be moving 20 miles an hour. Some of these sections, especially, there's always a grass section or two on the course to allow the kids to open up before they enter the single track. So some of these kids, it's 40 and cold, and they're going 20 miles an hour. And
Yeah, it feels a lot colder at that point, right? And I mean, now the places that you go and race, these trails that you mostly scouted these out, or do you go places that you really have just a very little clue as to what the course is like?
Well, I mean, so that's a tough question to answer, but it basically, for the most part, we've ridden these the prior year. So some of the kids have ridden them year over year. They did add a new one this year in Houston Woods over just north of University of Miami, and or Miami University, sorry. We didn't have a chance to go over there and scout it out because it's just too far to go.
Right.
There are two races that are close to here, one in Yellow Springs and one in Canal Winchester. And so we do our best to try to go over there at least 1 week or two prior to try to scout those trails out. They've been consistent for the past couple of years as far as the routes, and so we can use our GPS and basically try to do the same route that they did before to try to get an idea of what it could be like. It's never exactly the same, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that you train in Great Seal or surrounding.
Yeah, so
areas.
we train all throughout kind of Ross County. So Great Seal, think of it as the penultimate place that we want to get to and consistently go to.
Okay.
But there are certain riders, just because of their experience level, that we will not take to Great Seal for a while. So we honestly will start at Koppel and just in the field or going around the path around there. We also do rides on the trail going to Frankfurt and back, and then also utilizing cider trails as well, utilizing the gravel and kind of teaching some things. So yes, the kids love to go to Great Seal, especially the experienced ones, and it's a great training place. But as kind of the head coach trying to develop a training program, going hard out and doing the Great Seal is not the best way of getting to be a better bike rider.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, that's where my question was going, because I've ridden a lot at Great Seal, and it's tough. Even for, I'm not an experienced rider, but like it's a tough course. I couldn't imagine that being your training ground all the time. So I get, So no, thanks for that.
I mean, the good news is you have this wealth of great trails in Ross County that you can use. I mean, there's not many sports where you can say we have multiple practice surfaces.
Yeah, sure.
And you have that, which is pretty neat. I mean, that's a great benefit, I think.
And we also this being in this location provides a lot of variability of terrain. So you can get on the path and go from the mounds to Frankfurt and back and do a 14-mile trip on relatively, maybe 20 feet of gain up.
Yeah.
Very flat.
Yeah.
Or you can go to cider trails, and in an hour you can have 2,000 feet of gain very quickly. So, and those are all within 30 minutes of downtown Chillicothe. So it's great that we have that training location.
Yeah, definitely.
When you look, I guess, ahead at what you want to do, you mentioned the spring, but like, what are your short-term and long-term goals for the organization?
Sure. So my short-term and long-term goals would be opening this up to basically a K through 12 program. I think the first step is probably, and this is the first time I've said this out loud in a public place, but I think the first step is a 3 through 5 group. And I think they step right into the group we have now. There is a series called the OMBC, Ohio Mountain Bike Championship. Yep. And they start in March or April. So NICA starts in July. So starting in March or April, that league is balance bikes all the way up through your great-grandpa. Whoever wants to go sign up, there's an age group for them. So that'll give us a chance to bring in the younger kids and we can practice as a team all the way up through as soon as it's nice out. So that's phase one, I think. And then I think phase two, to bring in the younger kids. I'd love to see the kids on the balance bikes. My youngest was the first of our kids to experience a balance bike. And once I saw that, I'm just like, everyone has to be on these.
Yeah.
If I would love to just walk down the street with balance bikes on my truck. And if I see someone on training wheels, just swap them out.
Yeah.
Swap them out. Like, those things are amazing. So I'd like to see that. But to go back, K through 2, I believe that'll kind of be more like a weekend clinic type thing. Sign up, come down, do a couple weekends of skills stuff, just to help kids fall in love with riding bikes. But yeah, really the grade 3 through 5, that's my big plan for the spring.
Yeah.
And then also kind of on the idea of where we ride, Great Seal. It's great, how we mentioned, for if you're in shape and you're a rider, it's a great place to go ride. The bike path and sided trails are fantastic for fitness, but bridging that gap between basic trail skills and Great Seal, that's one thing that we do lack in Chillicothe. We don't have a lot of green or blue trails. So I'd like to work with some local groups, see if we can get stuff like that built. We have some good conversations going on now, hoping to start working with some shovels in the spring and make a little public skills area, be home of the mountain lions, but open to the general public. So that's a big project coming this spring, hopefully, that we're working on. So,
And you're working with Chillicothe Trails now because they're a sponsor.
yeah. So
And
and then we're actually, they are the nonprofit that we are
Okay.
listed under. So we're doing business as with Chillicothe Trails.
And so are you working with the Parks District as well to kind of coordinate some of this stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of those conversations, they come through the Parks Department, and also OUC. They have a lot of good ideas, and they're really interested in working on some projects with us. So
Yeah. As you look at this, like, obviously when you look at other sports, you're going to have, okay, this is a graduating class and they're going to leave. And we've got these younger kids that are, sometimes it's JV and varsity, which I think you've used that term. Do you see younger kids that are going to be like replacing some of these folks as they graduate on your teams?
replacing the current rider?
Yeah, like, so a kid graduates now, he's a varsity rider or a senior in high school, and then he's off to something else. Do you see like a continuum for riding of kids coming through?
Yeah, so you definitely have the kids, they move up in age. One good thing about NICA is it's everyone rides. There's no bench. There's no tryouts. Your typical sports, you have so many players on the field. NICA is just like on our middle school B class. If you have more riders, they'll start a second wave. So so there's no, say Jimmy graduated, so now his spot's open to refill. It's just all the kids, they just keep on repopulating.
So does it go like ages rather than grades?
No, it's right. It's it's grades.
Okay.
So, but just like within other high school sports, if you're a freshman, you can play as a varsity or a JV.
Okay.
There are some restrictions within that.
Sure.
But and I'm not sure if your question is, are we hoping to continue to replace those people as they get older? And absolutely, I think that's part of kind of Brad's plan as far as opening this up to even some of the younger riders, is that we already have seen that we have quite a few middle school riders, which we're even picking up more and more every year. And I think that's kind of how we're going to replace those. And yes, I think we didn't have a varsity rider this year. We had a senior who was racing as junior varsity, but that was because of the way NICA looks at breaking down past times, not because we didn't want him to race as a varsity rider.
Right. So they work hard to try to put similar times together and run them together just from a safety standpoint.
Right. Yeah. Their whole goal is when they design the course distances and number of laps, it's to have certain skill levels of kids on course for a certain amount of time. So they don't want super fast riders to drive 2 hours to a race and just blow up the course and be out there for 20 minutes. So they kind of group the kids accordingly, so they have certain time frames based on your age of how long they want you on course to give you an experience without destroying you too much.
Gotcha. Yeah. One thing that we didn't talk about was what your team's accomplishments have been. Tell us a little bit about how your season went and what your highlights were for this year.
So there's 2 divisions in the league. There's a D1, D2, and it's split up based on how many kids you have on your team. And then for scoring, it is middle school A and then high schoolers. Those are ones whose points go towards your score. So on a typical race, we would have 2 or 3 podium racers. That's first through fifth. And then I think we had, out of the 4 points races, was it 3 first places and 1 second place for the particular race. And then this season we finished up with an overall first place for D2.
Wow.
So
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And you've only been in an organization for 3 years,
Yeah.
which is pretty neat. Wow. We talked a little bit. You talked to Adam about that you were in the Halloween parade last year. Is there a part of what you do that is sort of like a give back? Your kids go out and do different things or things like that, or is that something that you want to develop?
So it's something I'd like to do more of this next coming year, and it kind of comes into play with building the new trails as definitely give back on trail work days. I think it's important because we're using the trails, and it's important for the kids to understand how much work goes into these trails that they are enjoying every year or every week. One of the cool things about mountain biking at this age is typical sports. You're going to maybe play some pickup games in college, maybe play a softball league or something after as an adult. But mountain biking is one of those things you can do well into life. And recognizing the work that goes into that, I think, is important as you carry that on. So you can then be that next person in your community that puts in the work to develop trails for the next generation.
I mean, locally, there's a group that works really hard in Great Seal to maintain trails, and I've always been impressed. I've gone and ridden other places, and just the shape that our trails are in here is really pretty impressive. So, and for as much as we have.
And do you guys do fundraisers to help get the teams, or do you just mainly rely on the sponsors?
We did. I mean, I think we did a fundraiser that part of the proceeds went back to the team. It was, I think, clothing part came back to the team. But otherwise, we have not done any other kind of fundraisers at this time. And I think that's so far has been a good thing that we've been able to have our good sponsors have allowed us to do that and kind of focus on other aspects. Yeah.
But I would imagine if you're out there and you're an individual or, a grant giving organization and you want to donate to the Ross County Mountain Lions, you're not going to say no to that. So
absolutely. People always ask me, how much does it take to run a mountain bike season? I said, well, I can run a mountain bike season with any dollar amount. It just depends. That's just what kind of season we're going to be able to provide for the kids.
Right.
I mean, if somebody wants to come drop a check, I'd love to walk on the practice day one next year and say, here's a bike for you, here's a bike for you, here's a bike for you. But realistically, it's, I don't know what I was going to say there. So,
and I think it's important to note too, it's not just a bike. You got to have a helmet. You've got to have some protective gear, right? Obviously you have kits for the kids and things like that. So what all is entailed in that as well? I mean, obviously a helmet.
I mean, basically for you need a decent kind of reliable bike. That's the first thing. We do safety checks before every ride. Okay, so even with the fanciest bike out there, we're checking to make sure that bike is safe to ride that day. It 100% always includes a helmet that you have to have. Now, helmets you can get free. There are multiple drives throughout a year that you can get a bike helmet for free. So that's available in every community. Shoes, a good just pair of solid shoes. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Some people wear gloves, some people don't. Pads, that comes and goes. Some people prefer them, some people don't. Other than that, and a water bottle, you pretty much don't need anything.
Yeah.
But that itself is an expensive part of it. And I know NICA in general, Ohio OMBL is trying to look at, bikes as well for kids, and that's one of their drives as well, is they understand how expensive it is to get into the sport. And then just the maintenance of the bikes as well. But that's also kind of our part, is to try to look at all of this stuff. We do have a session usually early on talking about maintenance of the bikes so that the kids can learn how to take care of themselves as well.
I would imagine that that's a really important part of this, that, you mentioned the maintenance of trails and things like that and helping to teach them the importance of that. But also, I can tell you this, when I was growing up and I had a bike, I don't know that I even checked the tires, right? Like, I mean, I wasn't that responsible,
Unless
but you're able
flat,
to,
right?
yeah. I mean, you're able to teach them a little bit about, it's a skill that they'll learn and can use forever. And that's just to maintain a bike and to keep it up. And, they may not take mountain biking too deep into their life, but they're always going to know how to maintain a bike, which is kind of a neat quality to have,
I think it's a great quality to have. I mean, as Brad mentioned, you can ride well into your older life. And, I know personally 80 and 90-year-olds who are still out there riding.
Yeah.
They may not be doing the Black Diamond mountain bike courses, but you know what? They can still put in 30, 40 miles on a trail and have a good time. And having that skill early on dramatically helps that.
Yeah. And I mean, what you're getting at there too is the health benefits to just riding and things like that as well. And, I think that's such a great thing it's a sport, but there's so much more to it. I mean, just like any sport that you play, the cardiovascular is going to help you, but you're also learning to keep your mind real active too when you're out mountain biking like that.
Yeah, this is really my introduction to mountain biking as a sport. I mean, I grew up 5 minutes from Great Seal. We rode mountain bikes all through junior high school. It was never a sport. It was never a competition. So we just
You wished it
rode 'cause
was.
fun. Yeah, we just rode because it's fun. And now it's a little different. Like you have to tackle it from a different mindset. That's why we are lucky to have Adam here as the coach, because I was coaching last year. It was just a lot of fun rides. And towards the end of the season, I realized these kids aren't racing, they're just riding. And that's because that's what we would do. We weren't pushing hard. Like, we were pushing because we were riding hard, but like we weren't looking at it from a race standpoint, because to me, mountain biking was always just something cool you did in the woods. But
Yeah.
So, Adam, how did you become the coach? Like, what's your background that brought you there?
Well, my main background obviously is medicine.
Sure.
I'm one of the urologists here in the community, but from a biking standpoint, I've always ridden. But I rode mountain bikes in medical school, but then actually broke my elbow in residency. So I took a break from mountain biking and then kind of picked up biking pretty heavily over the past 3 to 4 years, and then started training for different events. I've actually never done a race, which my son keeps pressing me for, but I've done multiple long distance rides, and then trained for a multiple event this past summer. So learned a lot from my coach during that time frame, and was able to translate some of that information and training to help the kids kind of realize that training for a bicycle race is a little bit different than just going out and riding in Great Seal.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do with kids because some of it is very boring, because it's kind of slow-paced riding. And something that I failed at in the past too is, you get in 45 minutes to an hour to ride, you want to hit it hard, and you want to, get your heart rate up and really feel like you had a, quote, great workout, but actually you potentially were not making any benefit from a fitness standpoint. So that's something that just the experience with that, and also just an evolving part with the kids, has kind of allowed me to try to help develop the training program for this. And I think it'll be different next year.
And yeah, because you're learning as a coach as well, right?
Correct. I mean, and it's difficult because as I mentioned earlier on, you have lots of varieties of different levels of kids. And that's where this year really helped that we had quite a few coaches. So we were able to split our groups into different levels, so each group could then focus on what they needed to focus on.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And once it becomes racing, like anything, it's a different mindset. As a kid, I was on a bicycle all the time. I got a new BMX bike for Christmas, and I rode, and I thought I was fast. And so my dad is like, let's test this. And we went to a BMX track, and I got wiped off the map. And I had no idea just how, one, competitive it was, and then what it took to train. So then it was like a different mindset. I'm like, I am never going back and getting embarrassed like that. So I have to figure out how to train different. And I was 11 or 12. But the next time I went to the track, like, it was a different story, because I think my dad learned a lot, and it's like, okay, this is what you need to do. We were just riding your bicycle around the block isn't going to be the thing to get it done. There's sprinting, there's all kinds of things. So I could see where making that shift from just going and having fun in the woods, riding your mountain bike, to doing it competitively is a big mind shift, especially for students.
Yeah, and the hard thing with kids is that you want to make it fun.
Right, sure.
It's finding that training program that makes it fun.
Yeah.
So doing, interval training on the path going to Frankfurt and saying, all right, well, we get there, we get some ice cream. And so trying to have an aspect that keeps them entertained. They're not going to sit in front of a training screen and do a 2-hour ride. Like, that's just not going to happen. So we have to figure out, well, if they can't do that, what could we do? And that's part of the evolving part for me, even from this year into next year.
I know you both as people that love to be outdoors and not just sitting around inside. That's a great part of this thing too, is you're getting these kids out into some amazing environments that they would never see maybe outside of that, right? Getting to go to Houston Woods and, different places around the state is pretty neat. When you play in a sport and you're in a conference, you're kind of in that general area, and you kind of know the Jacksons and the Courthouses and the Piketons and the Waverlys. This is taking you into places all over the state that are a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that is also like the social aspect. It's with these mass starts, you see these kids lined up, and they're typically with the same group of kids every race. And you see friendships starting to develop over the last 3 years. And, they show up to the race like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And they're having a good time in the pits, waiting for their heat to come up. And it's really cool to see that. My son did track last year, and I was excited because I never did track or cross country, but I always thought that was the coolest social sport to do.
Yeah.
I was like, you get a chance to meet so many kids from different schools all at the same time. And I kind of equate this to a cross country meet. When people ask kind of how the layout is, it really is just a cross country meet on a bicycle. Like spectating wise, you get 1 or 2 spots to see them come through. And other than that, who knows what's going on in the woods out there with them. They're
Till they
kids
come back
being
out.
competitive, but the social aspect is really cool. Meeting friends from all over the state that, like you said previously, they otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't covered?
No,
I don't think so.
So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you or where they can find you on social, things like that.
Absolutely. So on Facebook, we are RC Mountain Lions. Website is www.rcmountainlions.com. Email rcmountainlions@gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out any of those platforms. We will be at the Halloween Parade again this season. That's the plan. It was just registered today. And then we aim to start practicing again in March or April, depending on when the weather breaks. Our NICA League starts in July. But like I said, we're going to get into some of those other race series starting in March or April. So, and to touch on that, you don't have to race to be on this team or this club, whatever we want to call it. Some kids, they just want to come practice, learn how to ride bikes better. Some kids want to podium, work their butts off. Yeah. And then you have everything in between. Some kids just like to go to races, and you have what's called open class, and they just ride at their own pace and enjoy time in the woods on a bike. So it's something for everybody. But please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and they have a great social media presence on Facebook, and I think they're great at celebrating the successes of the team and helping to publicize the team. And then number 2, I think, is just getting the word out about where they're at, so that way those sponsors can, get what they need out of it too. Which is a lot of those folks, they do it for the love of what you guys do, but at the same time, it's always good to give them a little pub. So, I think it's really a great thing that you guys are doing. I'm excited about it. I keep trying to talk Walker into doing it. So he's in 7th grade now. So maybe that might be, he often listens to the podcast, so maybe he can plug in now. So, but
you heard it here, Walt.
That's right. Well, thanks again, guys, for coming in. Excited about what you were able to accomplish this year, and wish you the best of luck as you move forward.
Appreciate it.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is
We
gig.
don't deserve it. It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already